Hi, it's Storytell Mel, and I'm back for part 2. You're going to need to fasten your seatbelts for the final installment of my Wheel of Fortune Teen Week Grand Prize Championship story dating back to 1984. I even dug up some archival footage as a special treat. Now remember, Wheel of Fortune started only a year earlier, in 1983. I tried out for that year but didn't make it. You can hear all the details in part 1. Now, we left off where my name had just been called for Wednesday's show. I did really well, but I did not get to the bonus round, and I did not win the Wednesday show. However, I was able to celebrate for a moment because I was in 3rd place. They sent me in the audience to go sit down, and at the end of the taping on Wednesday, for the first time, they show the top 3 money winners, and I was in 3rd place. But I said for a moment, because I still had to go through and see if anybody would get a higher total on Thursday's show. The entire game was played, and I was still in 3rd place. I was going to the finals. But at the very end of the show, it is announced that Pat accepted an incorrect answer, and they let everyone know it is going to be a longer day because they have to scrap Thursday's show and refilm it. I know exactly what that means. There is another chance to lose my spot. My stomach flips. I don't know if I was breathing through the retaping of Thursday's show, but as luck would have it, the same person won, and it was eerily almost exactly the same dollar amount. It meant I was going to the Friday show. I had to change my outfit. When I came out of the dressing room, one of my fellow contestants, who was in 1st place, stared through my soul, and in his most intimidating voice possible said, "You're going down." Now, it might be that my memory is just imagining a voice crack in his delivery, but what is so great about this was my response was to walk by him and say nothing. And sorry, Brian, but dude, you fired me up. You're the best. Thanks, Brian. There was no way I was going to let you win after that. I was the only girl against Brian and a really nice kid named Jimmy. Okay, so I got many bankrupts and it was very dramatic, but in the spirit of not making an even longer video than part 1, I beat Brian and Jimmy and won a trip to Walt Disney World for 4 because it was destiny. More on that later. And I solved a puzzle that I'm sure all of you could solve as well. It also helped that I never stopped practicing, and my mom, desperate to think up new puzzles, was using visual clues on a plane ride over to LA, and I had just solved Fasten Your Seatbelt, as it's imprinted on the seat tray in front of all airline seats. I took my mom, grandfather, who had not been on a plane since training to be a paratrooper in World War II, and my grandmother for her maiden voyage. The trip was more memorable than a car, but I really could have used some wheels. We did see many LA 84 Olympians in a parade at Disney World, including the aforementioned Mary Lou Retton. Now, my mom had wanted to take her parents to Disney World, but they didn't want her to spend a fortune, so my grandfather always had said he was too busy and come up with some excuse that he was too busy working as a painting contractor. I'm not a woo-woo person, but as soon as I saw the prize at the beginning of the show, I absolutely knew I was winning it. It was just like I had a vision of Charlie getting his grandfather out of bed and dancing with the golden ticket. I just knew, not I hoped, but it is the only thing I've ever been sure of in my life. Even though I knew that I would win the prize, it was a dialectic because I still was as nervous as could be. I also won a fabulous dartboard and a carousel lamp and a ginormous rear projection TV, which I kept forever until they didn't make parts for it anymore. I put my money on account because no one does that, and I knew if I got on the show, I would. There's so much more to this story, but I will mention just a few more things. First, that there was one strange coincidence with the money I won. It was the numbers from my birthday, like my actual birthday. I had to cut ads out of the newspaper when I got home showing lower prices for the items I won because what they don't tell you is we had to figure out a way to pay the taxes on everything before they would ship any of the prizes. A standard procedure. Just didn't know as a 16-year-old. I campaigned as big money and won school treasurer at my high school that next year. I had the biggest headache of my life. We went across the street to Bob's Big Boy, where I just learned the Beatles have eaten, to grab a 1 a.m. dinner because, well, ribs and corn on the cob, remember? And some of you may know you cannot be on the same game show twice unless you are asked. So, if anyone from Wheel sees this, please invite me back for a 40-year reunion next year. It would be an honor. Thank you for listening.